Hey friends, how you doing? It's Tim Schur, president of Sure Success Inc., and I have been a executive coach and a top hypnotist for the last 30 years. I've worked with thousands and thousands of people who wanted to achieve every type of goal there is. And over the years, I found some pretty extraordinary breakthrough technology, some cutting edge ways to help people to use the power of their mind to make their life happier by design. And today, I wanted to just jump on here real quick and talk about the state of the mental health industry, because I believe personally that our mental health industry is sick, unfortunately, and it needs to get well. So we are now in the 21st century, and that means that we need to have 21st century cutting edge tools and strategies to help people to get rid of this epidemic of anxiety and depression and feeling suicidal. I mean, I'm getting calls from parents who are saying my 10-year-old feels suicidal. What is that all about? Right? And so we need to take a look at how we are addressing the mental health issues. There are so many tools that are so effective that are not being taught in traditional psychology training programs. So I went to college in two different graduate schools, gaining my psychology degrees. I was going to be a clinical psychoanalyst, right? One of the Freudian people that sit there with you for 30 years and never really give you any feedback and just say, tell me more about that as you free associate, which now after 30 years of experience, I think that's gross. I think that's ridiculous. That type of treatment is so outdated when you could help somebody experience a significant breakthrough in their life in 30 minutes. And so I had a top business owner tell me one time, because I've done a lot of corporate training and work with companies. And so I had this one boss, he was really amazing. And he was a mentor for me. His name was Troy Hanna. And he said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And so I've been out there for the last 20 years advocating for people to upgrade their skills, especially psychologists, psychiatrists. I mean, most psychiatrists are just medical doctors who are pushing pills, right? They're barely even talking to a psychiatrist anymore about your mental health and what's going on. So we go to psychologists, we go to therapists, licensed mental health therapists, we go to life coaches, right? We go to all kinds of different people trying to help us. And so I'm going to try to be organized here. We're going to cover three different topics that I feel we need to really focus on to improve the mental health industry so people feel better faster. So the first one is diagnosis. You know, we have this psychological book, this manual that has a whole bunch of items in there. And basically, when you come in to work with someone in the psychology profession, or especially if you go to a psychiatric center, what they sometimes call stress centers these days, which are mental health places, inpatient, outpatient programs, usually based in hospitals, but some of them are private pay. When you go in there, they diagnose you, right? And they go through their book and they go through your symptoms and they go through the checklist, and then they try to put you in a box. They try to label you as this or that. Now, I worked in several of those institutions. Some of them have been closed and shut down, which was good, because what I found is half the staff in those places are like angels from heaven, and the other half are like right from the other place. I mean, just ruling with intimidation, mean, sadistic sometimes, cold, not caring. And it was shocking, right? It was shocking. And I would sometimes spend more time trying to help the staff instead of working with the teenagers that were in the clinics that I was working in. So anyway, when you go in there, one of the things that I learned is that everybody gets labeled as depressed because you get the most amount of insurance money for that. And the more money they can make, the better, because a lot of these places, you know, are businesses. Hospitals are businesses, psychiatric centers are businesses, stress centers are businesses, and businesses are in the business of making money, right? However they serve people. Like, I have a practice, my practice is designed to make money, but I make money by helping people, and the better value, the more value I gave to people, the more money I made. So I was successful because practitioner. Most people that own those places are not practitioners. They're business people. And so you go in, everybody gets depressed. And then when you get depressed, you get put on medicine. So immediately, before even talking about your situation, I mean, you might do an inval, you're going to do an intake, you're going to tell your story, and then they're going to try to quickly assess what's going on. Then they're going to medicate you, right? So they put you on drugs that change your brain chemistry almost immediately. And sometimes people are put on 2 or 3 medications. When I was in one daycare center with kids that were kicked out of regular school, so they would come to this place and they would learn, and they had behavioral problems. But I had this one kid, he was 12 years old, and he had 10 different medicines that they had him on. He would literally just sit there and drool all day because he was so drugged out. I mean, that should be illegal, right? So, but that happens. You know, people come home and, that maybe they have had panic attacks. So they've had panic attacks and they're not sleeping well. So they come in and they're acting really weird. You know, they feel like they're having hallucinations. They feel like, they're hearing voices, they're really paranoid. And then all of a sudden we start thinking, oh, they might have some kind of affective disorder, right? They might be psychotic. And all of a sudden they're putting them on these heavy antipsychotic drugs when all they did was they had a panic attack and they haven't slept. And so, sleep deprivation is the worst form of torture. And so, we're not showing up clearly. A lot of times when we are struggling and we're full of anxiety and we're full of fear, we end up having insomnia, and that just messes things up. And it might look like you check all these boxes when really you just need some sleep, and you need to know that you're safe, and you need to know that you're loved, and you need to know how to manage what's going on in your thoughts, right? That's what you need, right? We need to upgrade some of the beliefs that have taken root in our unconscious mind because of the big T and little t traumas that we all go through growing up in life. So diagnosis is a big problem. We need to stop trying to put people in boxes so that we can figure out what medication to give them. And that is a common routine practice. So that's something that definitely needs to be upgraded. The second thing that we need to focus on is the whole approach, sickness versus wellness, right? Now, if you have a GPS and what would you tell it to do? You would tell it where you want to go and the destination you want to arrive at, and then it would start to take you there one step at a time. Well, your mind works the same way, and so does achieving goals. You set the outcome and you start going after what you want. You're forward thinking. You're playing to win. You're moving forward. But we have a sickness model where you come in and you go to doctors or you go to mental health professionals and they start treating the symptoms, not the source of what's going on, but the symptoms. They try to talk, some of them, some of the therapists out there, and I'm not bashing therapists and psychologists. I love these people. I am these people, right? So, but what I am saying is that so many of them have not been trained to use the latest, greatest tools and techniques. They're still using behavior modification. They're still using cognitive behavioral therapy, which is like positive thinking on steroids, right? They're still doing family history and, and going back with their whiteboard and trying to uncover every horrible thing that you've ever been through and every horrible thing that your parents and relatives have been through, which takes hours and hours and hours. I went to marriage counseling one time with my wife, and we almost got divorced because of the therapy, because all they did was dig up all these problems. And I'm like, are you going to give us any tools? And then the whole thing got messed up because he's like what? And I listed off a bunch of tools. And then all of a sudden this person wanted me to train them. I'm like, I'm here to help my marriage. And now my wife's mad at me because she thinks I got in his head and sold him something. And I'm like, no, that's not what happened. I just got frustrated because we leave these sessions and we go in the parking lot and we yell at each other because we don't have any tools. These sessions are making it worse because it's so problem focused. It's not giving us solutions and not saying, here's what we're going to do right now. Here's what you're going to do when you leave here. This is what's going to build closeness. This is what's going to build trust. This is going to be what improves your communication. This is going to be what helps you to rekindle that love and connection and passion with one another again. That's not what we did. We talked about why, we might have got this way because of Uncle Harry or whatever. And so that approach is so archaic and it needs to be upgraded. There's value in there, but we need to mine the gold and get rid of a lot of the mud, a lot of the wasteful stuff. Even in hypnotherapy, which is my chosen field because I love how it helps people get right to the root of what's going on using hypnotic regression, which is really about neuroscience. It's not some magical state. It's not clucking like a chicken. It's understanding how your brain works and using it to your full advantage. If more people were just trained in hypnotherapy from the very beginning, we would have a much happier, more peaceful civilization. So it would help us end so much needless emotional suffering. But because of movies, Hollywood movies where they make hypnosis look dangerous and scary and they can control you and manipulate you, people are afraid of it or they don't take it serious. Even though, ironically, a lot of the top A-listers, the most successful celebrities in the world, have hypnotherapists and have gone to hypnotists to stop smoking or get rid of stage fright or anxiety or the jitters or, being able to manage your mind. Kevin Costner, when he made that movie Waterworld, he had a hypnotherapist with him throughout the whole shoot because he had to be in the water so long that it was stressing him out. And so he had a hypnotherapist on set with him, taking him through sessions so that he was able to manage himself more comfortably in those long days of being in the water with all that makeup and everything he had to deal with all the time. And so, I mean, they're using hypnosis in ways the most powerful, the most wealthy people are going to what works the best, right? All they care about is results. And so we need to take a look at this industry, this mental health industry, and say, are we really focused on finding the source of what's going on and moving towards wellness? Or are we constantly caught up in what's wrong and treating the symptoms and treating the problems? Well, you got this system, you need this, or you got this symptom, you need this drug. Oh, you got that symptom, you need that drug. Oh, you got that symptom, well, we're going to give you this drug too. Well, now you need drugs to deal with all the side effects of 3 different drugs that are combining together in your brain. That's like getting drunk on alcohol, smoking a bunch of weed, and then doing some LSD, and then you respond, and then they're like, oh, you have some kind of mental illness. You're hallucinating. You must, you're slurring your words. You must be psychotic, right? Maybe you have bipolar. Right. And it's like, what? No, they're responding to all these chemicals that are in their brain. So we need to shift our focus to being proactive and moving towards wellness, right? And how we're going to treat the source of what's going on. Then we're going to shift our focus from not just healing the past, but how are you going to show up in the present so that you have a beautiful future? That's what we need to focus on. Most people, when they're driving down the road, they're looking through the window, right? Through the windshield, because you got to focus on where you're heading if you're going to get there safely. Would you spend your whole time looking in the rear view mirror while you're driving? That's your past. That's where you've been. And it's important to understand your past so you can learn from it, but you got to let go of the past, take the wisdom from it, and then put your attention on the windshield, on where you're headed. That's why the windshield is 10 times larger than the rear view mirror, because where you're headed is way more important than where you've been. Now, the third thing I want to chat about, and then we're going to wrap up this video, is self-management, right? So many times we are looking for somebody to save us. There's only one person that can save you, Jesus, right? Then you have to do it yourself, right? You got to use your power of faith, and you got to upgrade your beliefs, and you got to manage what you say to yourself on a daily business for your whole life. You got to always be redirecting those negative thoughts and redirecting your attention onto what's going to help you feel loved and safe and secure so that you're able to show up in a way that makes you feel more empowered. That is the key. That's it. That's what we do. It's about self-management. It's not about somebody or some drug coming to save you. Oh, microdosing is going to be it. Smoking pot's going to be it. No, it isn't. Right? Those are just distractions. That's like throwing dirt on top of weeds. When you're distracting yourself by trying to do all these medical things, all this medicine, whether we call it natural or not, it is simply distractions. It's not dealing with the source. It's not upgrading your beliefs. It's just trying to numb you out, or it's trying to help you to calm down, or it's trying to help you maybe to think a little more clearly. Now, some medicine is amazing. Some medicine is truly life-changing. Sometimes medicine is so beautiful, I feel like it is a gift from God. But We have become a drug nation. I mean, when we have drug companies actively advertisements for their drugs, it's scary. When they have all these happy people and all the money they spend, millions and millions of dollars showing you all these commercials with happy people and happy children running around, listen to the side effects. Your head might fall off. Your eyes will start bleeding. You might explode, right? But still ask for this pill. And so you got to be really careful by these drug companies because they are businesses, and businesses are designed to make money. And so that means that sometimes people will sacrifice values and what's most important so that they can make their shareholders richer. So we have to be very cautious, and we have to take responsibility for our own wellness, which means you got to go get help. You got to reach out. You cannot do it by yourself. Right? I don't care how many YouTube videos you watch or how many programs you go to. You need somebody that will help you uncover your blind spots. You can't see your own blind spots. That's why we call them blind spots, right? I have a coach. Every year I hire a coach, and I'm at the top of my profession, and I still have coaches. The best athletes in the world, Olympians, they have coaches. The most successful people in business, like the president, has advisors. They're coaches, right? We have top mavericks in companies, and they have mentors, they have coaches, they have mastermind groups where they get together and they support one another, because doing it by yourself all alone is the worst way of doing it, the slowest way of making breakthroughs, and the most painful way of doing it. We need support. So you need to go and find somebody, hire somebody, be mentored, even if you just go to church and get in a group and be around people who are positive and loving. What we tend to do is we find ourselves attracted to our wound mates, and then we start getting on these groups on Facebook, and we start complaining about our problems, and everybody says, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, which is great to get empathy, but is that solving your problems? Right? I've gone into some of those groups and I'm like, hey, do this, this will help, and then all of a sudden I get people saying, oh, you're gross, and oh, you're a predator, and oh, you're trying to, help people? Suffering? Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. What are you trying to do? Okay, so you got to be careful who you hang around with. If you're hanging around with other people who feel broken inside, and let me tell you, you're not broken. You just got some broken beliefs. You are amazing. You are a child of God. You are incredible. So don't let your beliefs lie to you and tell you anything different, which is what they do. And so we've got to take back our power, and that means that we have to be accountable for ourselves. We got to be the ones that decide that I am going to manage my mind. I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to get the support that I need. I'm going to find people who can help me, teach me, support me, challenge me when I need it as well, which is very important, right? We need hugs, but we also need to be challenged sometimes, because our stories are being what's keeping us held back. Right? The stories we tell ourselves and defending the poison inside of us. Dr. Wayne Dyer once said that when you get by a snake, ow, it hurts, but it's not the bite that kills you. It's the poison that's left inside. And we end up defending our poison. We end up saying, well, if I forgive somebody, then it means that what happened was okay. And that's false. Or it means that I'll get hurt again. Not if you learn from it and you show up in a new way. Right? Buddha once said that to hold a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. And when we are holding on to our past and we're not letting it go, we are keeping the poison alive. And then that means that we are part of the problem, right? Our self-righteousness, our ego, our defensiveness that we think is protecting us has made us a prisoner of our own mind. And so when you develop self-management and you start playing to win, and you have people that can help you that are also playing to win, they're not worrying about labeling you and trying to diagnose you and trying to figure out what box you fit in and then how to drug you. Instead, they're focusing on what solutions do you need? Here you are. Here's where you want to be. What's the gap? And what skills do you need to close that gap? That's what we do in business. That's what we do to grow our businesses. So that's what we need to do to grow our lives. That's what we need to do to grow our self-confidence. That's what we need to do to improve our relationships. That's what we need to do to increase our faith. This is what we need to do. we get clear on where we are, we get clear on where we want to be, and we close that gap by identifying what are the skills you need to help you close that gap. Now, I do have a tool for you. If you're interested, just put in the comments AI. I'm using AI, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, to help people uncover their unconscious limiting beliefs and then give us some new tools and strategies for identifying your blind spots. It's revolutionary. Now, AI is never going to replace a therapist. You need the human connection, right? You need the human relationship. So, being best friends with a robot is going to lead to something very dysfunctional. We're just going to end up more isolated and more lonely. Watch that movie, Her, right? It's just going to make people more isolated, and that's where we're heading. You watch. If you come back to this video 5 years from now, people are going to be wanting to be best friends with their robots because we're so feeling isolated and lonely because of social media and because we don't hang out with people anymore. We're all on our phones, being stimulated and entertained and getting those dopamine drips constantly. And so now everybody's addicted to their phone and their tech. So we've got to make sure that we get back to having those human connections and those human relationships again, which is another asset of working with a coach, a counselor, a mentor, a spiritual leader, anybody that you feel will help you to develop your skill set, right? To close that gap. Anyway, I got a tool here. I printed out the cover of it. Oh, it's backwards probably, but it's called Unlocking Potential. And it's how to harness the power of AI to uncover your beliefs and blind spots. And then once you uncover them, it can help you to get a plan for what to do to feel better now. But then it summarizes these. Here's your limiting beliefs. Here's your blind spots. Here's the new beliefs that you need to train your brain with. And then you take that and you take it to what I recommend is you go to one of our one belief away hypnotists, right? And you just reach out to me. And if you decide you want to work with one, I will introduce you. We have a belief that after all the work that I've done in 16,000 sessions and hundreds of groups that I facilitated, I found that you're just one belief away from having a huge, significant breakthrough, a meaningful breakthrough in your life that's lasting. Like going from I'm not good enough to I'm more than enough. Going from no one's going to love me to God loves me, I love me, and of course others are going to love me. And because you start loving yourself and you start believing that, others will show up, or they're already there, but you're not seeing them or you're not allowing them in, right? Because of your own limiting beliefs. And so when you go to a one belief hypnotist, we are trained to find those beliefs, those mental weeds, pull them out at the root, and then replace them with flowers. And if all psychologists and therapists use that tool first, they would have a revolution in their practice, and we would have a revolution in the mental health industry. That's my mission. That's what I'm going after. If you want to learn more, reach out. If you are a professional in this way and you're interested in learning a little bit more, then reach out. And I'd love to talk with you. If you want to learn more about our AI tool, then I'll give you a free copy of it. Just put AI in the comments or reach out to me and I'll send you a free copy and you can start using the power of AI and hypnosis today so that, again, you can use the power of your mind to create your life by design. So thanks for watching this. I appreciate you. God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon.